when it comes to our relationship with Arsenal, it is very much a bi-directional relationship. We have learned a lot about our sales process, and we've refined that along with Miles on the calling side. We cannot do what we do without Arsenal. We have experienced tremendous growth with it, and it's absolutely a strategy for us as we move forward.
The numbers don't lie. We invested a lot of money, and it took a while to see the fruits of it. But the 450,000, north of 450,000 in project and MRR that we've received to date, and then knowing that we are going to be at 50K MRR within 2 months. And that's not the end of it. That's just year one, year two under our belt, and we're going to continue to grow with those guys.
My name is Jason Robinson. I'm with Integritech. We started the business in 2017. I'm the CTO.
My name is Alan Moon. I'm the CEO of Integritech. We've been doing this thing together for the past 8 years.
So Arsenal called on us 2 years before we engaged with them, and we just weren't quite ready in our business cycle at the time for them. But they were persistent and kept following up with us, and there became a point where it really made sense for us to be intentional about the growth of Integritech. And so it took a little bit of convincing, but they did a pretty good job at that. So Miles and I and Alan all kind of worked together. Alan does kind of the back office pieces, so he worked more with Sam and Aaron, and I was working with Miles on the front end because I'm doing more of the sales stuff. And so after about a month or so of, call it courtship, that we went through, we agreed and we got launched in February of 24.
Oh, just as a growing MSP, we were great technologists, we were great nerds, but the whole idea of sales and that the process behind it was something we had to learn, and then we came on board with Arsenal, and we saw that they were able to set appointments and create leads, and the quality of the leads we were getting were things that we had never seen before in our MSP journey and our own internal sales. And we knew that we had to make a change. We were relying on referrals and word of mouth, and that wasn't enough to continue to grow our business the way we wanted to.
Yeah, so when we initially signed, we agreed to 1 year. Pretty much everything we do, it takes a while for anything in business to move a needle. So we figured a year. We worked with Miles. We got some pretty good appointments right out the gate. Like Alan was saying, it's things that we didn't even realize around us for the visibility because we're so focused on just the problem solving. A lot of MSPs are built that way, technical roots. But Miles was opening our eyes to some things. We were getting some good appointments, good meets. It took us 10 months to land our first deal. And I think to this day, it's still the biggest deal we landed with them. But we closed out the first year. I had an earlier testimonial with you that we were about 32K MRR wrapping the first year. And I think the update now as we close, we've got stuff now. We've got signed. They'll launch 12/1. We'll probably, I think, just over 50 MRR at that point when we reach that and those contracts go live. So it's been very fruitful. We've been really blessed. Miles puts us in front of some great opportunities, and he's persistent. He manages and nurtures everything for us. It's really like a sales engine that's on autopilot. We play our part 100%. I mean, we've got to show up for the meetings. We do follow-ups. I communicate with Miles. He's very much a part of our team. He feels like an extension of us, just like we as Integritech and technologists feel like an extension to our clients. So it's a key partnership for us and a strategy for our growth that we don't see changing. It really, it is just like I was saying. So Integritech strives to be an extension from a technology perspective as a provider for our clients, just like in sales. So when we engaged Arsenal, you guys are sales, like really the only sales engine we had, and its intentionality that you guys have, that you pursue all these leads, you generate, nurture. Miles is out there doing his thing. And then he's keeping in touch with us. We will sometimes check his notes on things or sync up with a call. Most of the time when we leave a meet, we'll call Miles, give him an update. He'll update his notes. He has context for conversations where he can further kind of move the ball for us. He's out hunting, so timing is not always right. So it's one of those things that sometimes is a longer play. But it is definitely a strategy that we saw pay off in the first year. And then as we continue, those people that we've met with in the past that may have not been a good time, he continues to follow up. We continue. I've had meets this year that I met people last year, and it's just an update and another cycle, and furthering that, because a lead's a lead for life. I've kind of learned that, I guess. So um, we're getting better at it, but they are. Um, they're not fully autonomous. Miles relies on us. We're in the area. We know the business landscape and things. He's pretty in tune with everything, does a really good job, getting us the at bat, so to speak. But it's definitely a coordination of effort between the both of us that gets us the results that we have. And we can't do it without him, but we're also the ones out there on the front line. We got to come prepared. We have great conversations, and that leads to outcomes.
So we were talking about this last night, and you have the hiring. You go out and you're seeking these people, and you find the right people, and you train them. And after you train them, and then you lead them and coach them and guide them. And then we were introduced, or at least pointed out the call grader, somebody who's sitting back there who does nothing more than grade the quality of the calls. So you've got this built-in system that just continues to improve the people out there that are making these calls and setting these appointments. And that's a really fantastic thing. And it's just companies outsource their IT to us, and we outsource all the marketing and lead generation specifically to Arsenal, and it's a great partnership.
And he and I have talked about this, like, do you insource, at some point, kind of how does this scale? And for us, before we launched with you guys, right, as Sam was courting, Alan and us on this whole deal to engage before 24, we were December 23, he was calling us talking about all this. And so it's, when we look at that relationship and insourcing, I was looking at another vendor on the marketing side to try to do growth, like intentionality, right? We got sales and marketing. And I spoke to a marketing agency and told them this is kind of what we're looking at. I can invest here or I can invest over here. So we're very good at technical. We can solve these problems. I don't necessarily have the time to go out and lead gen, to go out and do a lot of this stuff. And I spoke to the marketing guy. He's like, man, really, it sounds like Arsenal's probably your best bet, and go lay your chips there and see what the outcome is, and then come back around. And we have actually fully engaged that marketing firm at this point with the growth that was enabled through Arsenal, because it really is so independent. And the systems you have, you guys are 100% system based. Talking to Sam yesterday, talking about, like Alan said, your training process and all this. Like, he and I really, when we look at the future growth of Integritech, have got to consider, what is that plan? Like, do we ever come to a point where it makes sense to insource this because you have the systems in place? MSP as an industry really well. It's one of your key industries. So, everybody, like, we love Miles. He's my guy. We're boys, and we do a lot together. But there's a scale point where Integritech is going to need another caller in another market or do something else. And talking to Miles while we've been up here, I've got confidence that, as he's been promoted manager and the things that he's doing now, he's creating other Miles. Like, when I was doing my thing, it's like, you need more Jasons to do the problem solving. You got to build systems, you got to train. You guys are doing that. And so for us to go and develop that, and, you guys have got lead gen tools, and you're bringing down lists and doing these things and doing the qualifications. There is so much effort that goes into that. It's, he and I are, it's almost having to convince us to insource that at this point, because what the dollars we put out to what we get back, the return on that investment, it's going to have to be a pretty compelling argument for us to insource something like that. And not saying it won't ever happen. I think there will be a point where Integritech begins to do that, but Arsenal is absolutely a key strategy, that we found and has gotten us to where we're at, and will be a part of the future, for Integritech as we grow, for sure.
When we go to open up a second market, it's going to be picking up the phone and calling Sam.
Mhm.
When we open up a third market, it's going to be picking up the phone and call Sam. It is not the things that you guys are doing here is pretty fantastic, and it would be a long shot before we could ever even replicate anything like that. And it's just the system. The system is there and it works.
Yeah.
All right, fully loaded. I like it. Do you guys think cold calling is dead?
Hmm.
um, so in our previous careers, we were both at Fortune 100. We were senior managers, and we got cold called constantly. Oh, it was, and we shared an office. There was about 3, 4 managers in an office, and you'd have a vendor pick up and call you, and you'd give them you give them a no, or call back in 6 months, or not right now, or whatever. He would hang up the phone, and Jason and I were sitting right next to each other. His phone would ring, and it would be the same caller calling up and selling the same product. And these are people that, that had been on our door, knocking on our door, and it was just, it was crazy. And you get to the point where, I would answer the phone and I'd be like, "Do we work with you?" "No." Click. I was kind of a hard case on it. But um, I definitely see the value of it. They're the first few people that we interacted with, when they started setting appointments. It was people who didn't know about us and people who we didn't know about. We never would have crossed paths. We had nothing. We had no referral basis. We had nothing in common that would have brought us together. And you can't sit down and get in front of those people, um, on what you're doing today. You have to do something else. And the cold calling was it for us. Um, I couldn't do it, and I'm thrilled that Miles is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, to Alan's point, like, it's making connections. It's definitely a lot of people think cold calling's dead. And I was super hard sell too, like Alan says, back when we were corporate. So totally understand it, and thick skin, and like, I listened to some of the calls, and it's like, man, but that was something we were very protective of, is our brand and our presentation and how we approach that stuff. And Miles made me feel more comfortable. So I was kind of hawkish, listening to calls and kind of going through things and notes through the first part of the journey with him, because it's that trust factor. We build these babies, our business, our baby. And he had a really good approach. I mean, there's objections always, but he was, able to come back and kind of work through some of those things, the gatekeepers, and that goes back to the training, I think, and there is a system to it. I'm not cut out for that, which is why we 100% outsource it. But yeah, it's definitely, we see the value in what we've got with you guys, and we see it scaling. And it's that the fact that you are able to reach people that there is no way that they would even know who we are. We're tucked in Northwest Arkansas. There's a bunch of competitors around. We're not totally saturated as a market, I guess, when you compare to other markets, but we solve problems. And for sales, I was always, like I say, a hard sell, um, from when I was on the buying side of things. But Miles gets us the opportunities to showcase what we can do and how we stand apart, and it opens conversations that build relationships. That's this long term thing that just continues to grow. And he's out there finding new stuff all the time, And we were talking while we were up here, kind of what he's doing, how he's doing some of this, because we look to kind of, if anything, when we look at what we're trying to build for sales, it's just to accelerate what he's doing. He's effective at what he does. We want to kind of pour gas on the fire for him and help him in that, not necessarily go build this other thing that is competing with what he does, because it works. And it is kind of surprising, because a lot of people, when the phone rings, it's just a click or not interested. But you know, it's fun to hear his stories about how he's talking to people that actually are very open, because they do have a need, and it's numbers. He's making calls, making a lot of calls, talking to a lot of people, and he understands. Telling them like, "Hey, we've been up here. You come back down there and visit Northwest Arkansas." He's like, "Yeah, I almost feel like I know the area," because he's calling all the businesses that are down there, right? Um, but yeah, it's very much not dead. It works. It's a tactic, and we see it, and we've seen the fruit of it, over the last 18 months or so. 18 months would have been, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty close to 18 months. So
So we've got ink on paper, that, by 12/1, we will be at 50K MRR, that is directly attributed to Arsenal's. It's a combination. It's us and them. They're not selling anything if we're not out there closing the deal, but we're not out there closing the deal if they don't set up the appointments. So yeah, 50K MRR. If you go from, basically November 1 of last year to December 1 of this year, 13 months, that's changed. We knew we had some lead time. We knew it was going to take a while to get rolling on it. And it was a solid 8 months, before we landed our first one. And, with all the project work that we've been able to, also, attribute to this, we're north of 450K in revenue over the past 13 months. Um, Actually, over the past 11 months, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
we started ours. The first contract landed 11/1 as a close. That was the first deal we won, and then from that point to now, Alan's the numbers guy. He tracked all the projects attributed and things like that to the different onboards we've done, and we're just a shade over 450. of realized revenue from, Arsenal's lead gen and appointment setting. I'm a big softy, man. I actually teared up some when he called me back. Like I was telling a story last night, at the game with the guys. I was talking to Logan, but like I remember I actually took a couple weeks, just kind of staycation, just to decompress some. And he called me. He's like, man, I know you're out, but I got this deal's pretty hot. And, if you are willing, let's, I'll set up an appointment, whatever. I'm like, dude, book it. Let's get it figured out. So I tagged Alan. We went down and met. It started with that, and they were in what they called a red zone with their existing MSP. They had some significant problems looking to solve it. And so we worked that for, what was that, like 6 weeks or so from the time we met to close, something like
It
that.
was one of the faster ones.
Yeah, it was pretty fast because, and like he said, he did, and that's the whole thing. You guys knowing MSP and you understand kind of the tone and temperature and lay of the land and able to speak to contract cycles and services and different things. He pretty much knew it was up, and knew it was a really good opportunity. So we swung in, pitched it. We worked back and forth a little bit. I've had some people over ask about our process. So that's been kind of fine tuned from that first one too. We're starting to develop more of our own kind of, touch points as we begin proposal and different things from first appointment and all that. But, working with them, it was awesome. I mean, I remember we worked back and forth. They had some questions. We had another teams meet, and then my phone rang like a few days later because Miles handles follow-ups, right? I mean, he's handling that side of it. We're doing our side. He and I'll talk on, if he's not getting an answer back, then maybe I'm the one that's got a touch point because I, sparked a pretty good conversation with maybe an internal contact or whatever there. But he actually, with this one, was the one that had followed up and got the final yes. I mean, we had a couple of good meets and kind of sharpening the pencil, tuning some things. And he called me at the office. I answered, and he was like, hey, man, we got it. And that was that. They initially began at like 17.5, I think was that first deal we closed. They're north of 20 now with the growth that they've had monthly. But yeah, I mean, I teared up, man. I'm a big teddy bear. So it meant a lot. It's like a milestone moment for us. We went from, I would say early on in the business, we're great problem solvers and business was happening to us. Lord providing, just making it by referrals and organically kind of chugging. And when we made the decision to plant a tent pole and start this whole sales thing, and that pole being Arsenal to build this thing off of, that was the fruit of it. And it took, like Alan said, it's like 8 months, of soaking and working. And we went, I could say prior to Arsenal, appointment set, you call it whatever, just organic kind of happenstance growth, half a dozen to a dozen appointments a year, maybe, maybe 3 new customers a year. But just, really bouncing, around and not really having a strategy or pathway or direction. And then with Arsenal, it's really, there's intentionality. There's a system I don't have to manage. It's all done. And then I just show up. I get Teams appointments, and then I'll get maybe some notes, and I'll talk to Miles about things prepping for it. But yeah, that first deal was a big one. I don't think we've landed a bigger one since. We got stuff on radar right now that's really good. He's actually looking at some really good stuff. Had an appointment with, I think, 1,100 employees here a couple months back that he set up. Big kind of co-managed opportunity that may come in the next year or so, depending on contract cycle and stuff. Had a really good conversation with that one. But again, never would have gotten that. They had no idea. I walked into that thinking it was far smaller than it was. And it turned out to be a really positive one. But yeah, that first deal was awesome. And then the rest is history. We just kind of keep chugging along with Miles, and he's throwing the opportunities at us, and we're very blessed to bring some of them in-house and take care of them.
And for me, it was just confirmation. It was, it's the whole process is not just Jason walking in the door and handing out flyers and our account manager walking in and handing out crumble cookies or anything like that. It's, which is something as we're developing as part of our process. It's Miles doing his part and it's us doing our part. He had been doing his part up through the previous 8 months, and we were refining our part and making our sales process better and our presentation better.
Hmm.
We sat down and we ran the numbers on the way up here, and it was pretty shocking. It was the money that we invest in Arsenal and the clients that we're able to land. Yeah, we've got the commission we pay out, and you know what? We're thrilled to pay the commission. If we're paying the commission, we're keeping Miles hungry. He's like, "This is awesome. I want to do this again for them." So back to that whole partnership. And you know what? The lifetime value of the customer. Oh my goodness, they are. We've had clients that are with us since day one. So we've got clients that are 7 years, and there's no sign of them going anywhere. Um, so just because I'm paying commission on the first 12 months of this thing, yeah, it's a cost, it's an expense, it decreases margin, but the value we're going to receive from that customer, the projects that have come in from those customers, even during that first year, um, it is well worth it. I, as we were adding up the numbers, I'm like, hey, can I invest that? Can I do that twice? Can I invest that twice and then get that return twice on that? It's like, we were talking about it, but, it would break operations if we were growing any faster. So, yeah, well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. And I mean, I was talking to Miles and kind of gauging where we sit, as far as like success ratio and things like that. But I think as any business owner looks, if you're able to invest what we've done and have the outcome and the results that we've had, it's very much worth the ROI in it. And to the point where strategically we question building our own sales department, honestly, internally. And it will make sense at some point. And I don't know that we'll be able to continue to replicate the success that we've had at the rate that we've had. And like you said, right now we're kind of, the way I tell Miles, I'm like, yeah, we're chewing a lot right now. We got to get it swallowed and move on to the next thing as we grow. Cause we are experiencing a lot of growth. We've hired 5 people this year. We're going to hire probably 2 more by the end of the year. Um, in that whole hockey stick thing that's happening, currently. But yeah, I mean, it absolutely is worth it to us, and it's one of those things that, from a focus perspective, we say you do the things that only you can do. Like there are certain things that only I am capable of doing, and those are the things I need to focus on. Unique ability kind of stuff. Miles has a unique ability in this area, and that's where we leverage that unique ability for him to bring what he brings to our business. I solve problems. I'm a technical person. I go have the conversations with my experience and all the pedigree that we bring as Integritech. Miles has a unique ability to do what he does to bring those people to us to have those conversations. And I think if everybody's operating in their unique ability, this thing is what we see. It's a hockey stick, and we continue to grow with it, but it's absolutely worth the investment for what we've seen. And then as we scale, it's definitely a strategy that we will build from. Just like, Alan said, if we want to go to a new market, which we're kind of looking at, that will start with a phone call and saying, hey, what does this look like for you guys? It's as we have learned the lessons of business in the past 7 years, we'll get better and faster at the efficiencies of the business moving forward when we scale. So, yeah.
I will go back and say that it's easy in hindsight to look back at when we're sitting on, 50K MRR, day one, first check going out the door, second check going out the door, fifth check going out the door. And before we landed one, we knew we were onto something. We knew but it was a big deal. It was a big expense for us. But it has more than paid for itself. But we definitely saw the quality that was coming in the door, and just access to people that we had never seen before. But no, we can't say that it was just, oh sure, stroke a pen and make it happen. It was there was a lot of discussion, a lot of courting, a lot of looking at priorities and seeing where we're going to invest our money.
Yeah, it's a faith building journey for sure, but it's been great, and like you said, from the very beginning, I mean, within the first 30 days, we had a meet with a manufacturer with like 90 users, and Miles even said, he's like, this is kind of an anomaly, man, but this happened. And so we went down there and checked it out, talked to them. We didn't end up landing, and they were going through some flux with leadership and stuff, but they wanted to talk because it was a piece of maybe the puzzle they were trying to put together as they were working on some reorg stuff. But just having those conversations and meeting those, like we never did that. Like the only time we ever went out for a new meet was like when another customer referred us somewhere. I ran across somebody grabbing coffee at a BNI or some other random networking event. But that's where, as business owners, we are so focused on keeping things operationally functioning that to focus on sales and marketing seems like a dream. And so to really not again abdicate that responsibility, but to strategically partner with somebody that you can offload a ton of that work and really see the fruit from it. It was a game changer. And, looking back in hindsight, sure, it's an easy decision, but man, when you're, this guy's writing checks and sending out the door, it's like, yeah, it's a commitment, but I think that's what it takes, in business to succeed. And we've seen that where you got to make a commitment and stick to it. And we measure results, right? And it took a while, and we gave it time. But I believed in Miles. I believed in the process. I saw what was happening, and to the point where I was like, "Hey, I'm the problem. Like, if there's an issue, the thing is me, because this thing that's working over here is truly working." But yeah, it's looking back is easy, but definitely worth it.
So, we went to ScaleCon last year in Las Vegas, and it was just a MSP marketing convention. And I was walking around talking about, and that's about the time we landed our first contract through Arsenal. And it was I was singing your praises. I was telling that we really enjoyed the partnership and stuff like that. And then Jason went down to ScaleCon this year in New Orleans and was saying some of the same things. I've been saying that you guys need to go to ScaleCon, but then I think back, we're there representing you, so I'm not sure that you need to send a person down there. But yes, we do recommend. We have recommended it, and it's been we know that there's at least two people that have signed up with you guys because of us, and yeah, we sound like pitchmen for for Arsenal, but the numbers don't lie. I can stand on my numbers and say this is what we've done with the partnership we have with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, when I went to New Orleans this year and spoke to a few people, I think there was MSP in Maine, actually, I talked to. Haven't heard anything from them, but the one from here, local, St. Louis, I think you guys are engaged with them. We're talking to them right now about some stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's a thing where, we were the ultimate technicians at corporate. We launched this business, and business thing is hard. Like, ownership is super hard to run and operate. So we found a formula that we found success from, and it's honestly like truly a relief, to take some of that burden, of the business, because you've got G&A, operations, and sales, and these different parts. So to take a piece of your business, and it takes a little bit of trust, a lot of trust actually, to kind of hand that piece over for somebody to help with that function. But the pressure relief that you feel as a business owner, it's just huge. And so, yeah, we evangelize you guys because I see it in other ownership's eyes when I'm down at ScaleCon and I'm talking to owners, and they're grinding. Like, you're grinding hard to try to make this thing work, and it's your baby and you care about it. You'll die for it. And so, I told the guys last night, it's like we almost, as Integritech, we were in that mode, and I was like almost suffocating my own baby because I wouldn't let it go, because I wouldn't trust anybody with it. But, when Sam and Miles came along and we started this thing, we were able to hand it over and let you guys function on this piece of it. It's been such an amazing, outcome from that. And it is a burden lifted as a business to have that constant flow of activity that generates these opportunities for us. And so, yeah, we absolutely, I don't look to get anything out of it. I want to help people. Like, that's what we do in sales in general. I'm learning more of is like, you just solve problems. So we're trying to help other owners solve those problems too, because they are mostly technicians that launch these businesses, and they're not salespeople. And so if we can help connect them and say, man, these guys helped us, they can help you too, then absolutely. We think that, I mean, I couldn't serve every company in Northwest Arkansas. There's no way. So, not that I'm wanting to bring another Arsenal and Market call in Northwest Arkansas. Don't get that. That ain't gonna happen. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely other MSPs out there that we can empathize with, and we see like, man, maybe this is something for a strategy for you that can work for you like it's worked for us. Maybe not to the degree that it's worked for us, but to Alan's point, lifetime value to customer, it doesn't have to be 4x or whatever, or 3x kind of a thing. But if you're making 1.5 or 2 or whatever, and then you're on a lifetime value or a longer term thing, I mean, we've got stuff that'll start falling off from Miles last year, and that keeps him hungry, right? He'll keep going. And it works out well for us, because then that stuff flows into us at that point. But yeah, we absolutely speak highly because it's the experience that we've had with you guys. It's been very positive.